everyone. Happy Poetry Month! Bam, bam, bam! Woo! I am so excited that you all are here. My name is Ashley Cornelius. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the current Pikes Peak Region Poet Laureate. Thank you. And this is our second annual Pikes Peak Poetry Summit. Thank you all so much for being here, especially with the snow. I'm so grateful that we get to spend some time with you all today. So that brings us to this point that we are bringing the community together to talk about the love of poetry and art. And so many people celebrate National Poetry Month by doing 30 poems in 30 days. So each day you write a poem, big or small, as a way to just keep that momentum going. And we were like, we want to do something that the whole community can participate in. And so this is part of my work as Poet Laureate, and I get to do some really incredible things. But I first want to talk about what a Poet Laureate even is. Some of you may not know, and that is perfectly beautiful. So it is a 2-year artistic and civic leadership duty that is housed through the Pikes Peak Library District. Let's give it up for PPLD. And so I was elected in 2021, and as part of my program, I get to do events with the library just like this one. I get to support the community, and this is the first event that I ever created as Poet Laureate last year, and this is our second annual one, so we're so excited to have it, and it's going to keep growing and building and expanding because this is such an important part of our community. So as the role of Poet Laureate, I get to do workshops, go to schools, keynote presentations, and I do a lot of commissions. So people ask me to create work for them, and I get to represent poetry in the community. And my goal is to make poetry as accessible as possible and integrate underrepresented voices. So poetry and even poet laureateship is often very academic, and I love that. And I have no schooling in poetry. I have no creative writing degrees. I am a therapist. My degree is in international disaster psychology. And the reason I say that is because anybody can be the poet laureate, right? And so I hope that in this role, as not having academic degrees, not being based in this work, that you can still be the poet laureate. Your poetry can be powerful and impactful, and all it takes is you using your voice and standing up. And what I love is that I call myself a translator, right? So people have big ideas or concepts or are going through a lot of maybe difficult things, and they ask me to create poems so folks can understand. And it's been an honor to do this work over the past year and a half, and I've had some amazing opportunities, like creating the James Turrell Sky Space poem. Has anyone been to the Sky Space in Greenbox Arts? Okay, here's a plug. James Turrell is this incredible artist and created a sky space, which is basically a concrete box. It's much more beautiful than that, but it's a concrete box set into sort of the mountain. They are all over the world, and we have one here in Green Mountain Falls. You hike up there, you can drive up there, and it is a sensory experience. So there's a sunrise and a sunset and a midday, and you're in this box. There's basically a sunroof that opens up. You see the sky, and then there's a light show. And that light show tricks your eyes into thinking the sky is green or blue or pink as the sun sets or rises. And so I was the first civilian to ever watch this in Green Mountain Falls at 4 a.m. in the morning. And I got to write a poem about it that is now turned into they did a drone footage, and my poem is behind it. So that was one of the really cool things that I got to do. I opened up for the former U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo. I created a poem for the grandmother of Juneteenth, Opal Lee. Wrote poems for Panorama Park. I opened up for the new president of Colorado College. And in my first year of Poet Laureate, I did over 100 events, speaking engagements, and workshops all throughout Colorado. Woo, 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 yeah. So I get to do all different types of things, and the theme of this year's Poetry Summit is Art is a Bridge to New Perspectives. And this was based on a keynote I did last year, and the quote from Amanda Gorman that says, "Poetry has never been the language of barriers, it has always been the language of bridges." And I have witnessed firsthand how poetry has allowed me to create connections for myself and the community, how you can shift your understanding and see something from someone else's perspective, even understand that what we're going through is a lot. And it can be easy to not understand or only see our one way, but there are so many ways that we can connect in poetry and in art. And you're gonna see a lot of bridges today. bridges to different places in Colorado, to different perspectives, different understandings, and also workshops where you're going to learn how to use those perspectives to create something new. Everything from songwriting to pop culture and social justice. And as the first Black poet laureate and growing up in this community, sometimes it feels like no one can understand you. And I have felt really alone in this space, and poetry has been my language, right? It has helped me speak clearly and confidently and be heard. So today I encourage you to be curious, to attend the workshops, to use the passports that are there to create your own art and engage, because the Pikes Peak region is full of amazing talent and organizations doing fantastic work. So connecting to new people and experiences has been a powerful aspect, and I also consider poetry sort of my mother tongue, right? My ancestry, I will never really know where I'm from, who I am, based on the diaspora, but poetry has been my history. It's been my legacy. It's how I understand myself completely. And I can speak to so many people using poetry, and I'm gonna share just a quick story with you all about how big this is. Has anyone ever heard of Safe Passage? So Safe Passage is an incredible organization here in Colorado Springs that works with kids who are survivors of sexual assault, and it is an integrated model. So someone can come in, report, also talk to the sheriff's office, also get medical screenings, can get therapy, can do kid power defensive work, and it all happens in the same building. So I was commissioned to write a poem for them about how trauma doesn't define us, right? That it can happen and we still exist and live, and that's a really hard thing to talk about. How not to re-traumatize, how not to focus on the trauma, and the way that I figured this out was talking about a butterfly, right? So caterpillars are going to become butterflies, no matter what. Even if that caterpillar fell out of a tree, even if that caterpillar had a really hard life, it is going to become a butterfly. And we all experience different things and trauma and pain in our lives, and yet we still are going to live. We still are going to become butterflies. That trauma doesn't go away. And if you didn't know, butterflies remember what happens to them when they are caterpillars. Caterpillars become literal goo, like they just bloop, become liquid, and then they leave the parts of them that they do not need, and they take with them what they want, and then they become these beautiful creatures that we hold with reverence, not unlike people who have experienced trauma and pain. It's because of that metaphor that I was able to talk about something so serious and scary and difficult and painful, but we all know what it means to become a caterpillar from a butterfly. We might not all know what it means to experience that trauma, but this is the power of poetry. It is fun and beautiful and fantastic, but it's also a way that we can heal, that we can protect ourselves, that we can stop re-traumatization, and I'm just inspired by the way that poetry can do this work. I also want to name that our young people are incredible, and we're going to have 2 winners of a citywide poetry contest, both high school students who will be here at the end of the day to perform, but I love that we're having intergenerational conversations, and today is also the literacy festival for young folks, so like elementary school kids, and I had to write a poem for these children, which is not normally my forte. I'm a little spicy babe. But I'm going to read this poem about the love of poetry as we are working through literacy and poetry. And it rhymes, and I never rhyme my poetry anymore. Here we go. Poetry is my favorite language. I hope you love it too. Become fluent in the way words and stories transform our joys and our blues. Your voice is powerful beyond measure. Your story is important to be told. The world is ready to listen. Speak loudly with confidence and be bold. Imagine worlds where the sky is green. Create giants, fairies, and even silly things. Express yourself with metaphors and similes. Be as smart as a scientist or brave like a captain at sea. Make loud noises with automatopoeias. Exaggerate with hyperbole. Personify and encourage the moon to talk to me. Your mind has the ability to build and explore. There are no limits when you let your creativity roar. I can't wait to find out the things you like, write poems and perform and give us insight. Your poetry can even be about something sad. It's important we share our feelings, good and bad. Pick up a book, paper or pen, read, write, perform, and do it again. Keep learning the language of poetry, Fall in love with your beautiful words. As long as you keep creating, your voice will always be heard. Thank you. That's for my little babies, for our little elementary ones who are doing this work. And also there's the Jean Siobhan Poetry Contest that happens here through PPLD that is also for elementary school kids. So the beautiful thing is that poetry spans ages, right? It can be simple and beautiful, it can be complex, but we can start the work of poetry and art and literacy very early on. So, wonderful humans are here, and I'm so excited that they're here. So I'm going to read one spicy poem, because I gave you a little cute little baby poem, yeah? Are we ready for a spicy one? Okay, fantastic. And then we're going to transition into the next portion of our event. Sound good? Yes, okay. Take it down and take it back up for 1 second. So Colorado, and unfortunately Colorado Springs is not unknown to tragedy, and I also think it's important that we experienced a significant tragedy last year with the shooting at Club Q. And as poet laureates, I think it's easy to think this is just, I'm writing poems and I'm having fun, but poetry for me is also, I'm capturing history. I'm talking about emotion. I'm sharing about the big things that are happening, and I'm having responses to the significant events in our community. And I want to read the poem that I wrote for that, because I think this was a perfect example of what is the role of an artist during a tragedy. And for me, it's to write, it's to capture, it's to express. And whether it's my own feelings, when tragedy happens, we feel alone, and belonging happens when we share poetry, when we share our voices. So this poem is called Queer Joy. Queer joy lives in Colorado Springs. It has and always will take root and bloom, will cover a hate state legacy and biting speech and propagate a rainbow garden, beautiful and vicious. We are the petals and the thorns. Leave us to grow our trans youth to feel safe in their cities, in their schools, in their homes, see themselves reflected in history and the future. Flourish BIPOC queer identities, intersectional understandings of how the sun impacts us different, how anti-racism in queer space is the only way to keep our soil nutrient-rich. We are English ivy. We will wrap our community in rainbows. We will cover up the institutions that support doctrines of hate, become family to those who don't speak to theirs anymore. We will cheer for you at Pride. We will offer hugs and love at weddings. We will shop with you to find out how you greet the world. We will dance to songs where she is in love with her. We will love. We will be what we need. We will reflect that the queer community is thriving and climbing higher, and we do so with beat faces and do-rags, with acrylic nails and binders, in drag and in ballroom, hiking and exploring, laughing and singing. We are a field of wildflowers, untamed and dynamic. Queer joy is rage, is anger, is righteous indignation. It is the poisons we produce to protect ourselves, our youth, and our legacy. Cultivate the sweet sound of our names and our pronouns. Our main harvest is queer elders. Remind us that growing old is not an exception for queer lives. Remind us that we do and will survive to embrace death in old age as a friend instead of as an ambush. Elders who didn't think they'd make it past 20 are teaching new generations how to grow, how to feed us. Even when the weather is harsh, they show us it can be done. We will lay bouquets into the arms instead of on top of caskets. We will hang flags on City Hall on a Tuesday just because no queer folks died today, because queer folks fell in love today, because queer folks live today. Queerness is not a funeral waiting to happen. It is a life waiting to be lived. And we are living. We are thriving. We are. Queer joy will fortify the dance floors, will sharpen the high heels, will lighten the loads we all carry, continue to share the stories of those taken so we may never lose their lights. Queer joy will anoint the scars, the binders, the packers, the gender euphoria, and name them holy. Our garden is sacred, no longer secret, but a creation of our love. Look closely. and you'll know that queer joy blossoms here. So queer joy lives here, joy lives here, Black joy lives here, accessibility joy lives here, women joy lives here, it all lives here. And I do not know about you, but I work in Denver, and many times when I say I live in Colorado Springs, people are like, oh, are you okay? Are things good? Like, that's just sort of the vibe of Colorado Springs, which is true and valid, and it's beautiful. And it's amazing, and things like this happen, and there's community, and there's care, and there's love, and that's what I want people to know. That when you think of Colorado Springs, I don't want you to think about tragedy. I don't want you to think about hate and violence and harm. I want you to think about rooms like this where we're coming together, where we're bridging new communities, where people can express their joy and their love, and that's one of the most important things to me. And so I had this amazing opportunity to hear Angela Davis speak this week at UCCS for their Significant Speaker Series, and the thing that she said that stayed with me was hope has to be generated. Hope is just not a thing that exists. It is literally generated by each of us. And so I hope today that we each can become hope generators, right? Hopeful for what poetry may be, hopeful for your writing, hopeful for the workshops. And for folks who may feel hopeless, I want you to take what is in abundance. And the people who are hopeful, I want you to create and give so that we may share in this community so that we can walk away with hope. Because we can bridge to different understandings, from new to old people to poetry, to the novices and the seasoned folks. Today, be curious, lean in, maybe do something new and enjoy Poetry Month. Generate hope, speak your truth even when it feels hard. Poetry is the way that we will connect. Art is the way that we will heal. Thank you. Okay, everyone's here. Bam, bam, bam. That was just enough time for everyone to get here. I'm so excited. The first person that I'm going to bring up to the stage is the Poet Laureate of Aurora. We're bringing up Asia Fox, y'all. Welcome her all the way up to the stage. Boo, 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 woo. And we're going to keep cheering all the way up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I made it, y'all. So I got 3 poems for you today. This first one's about food, and it's in 3 parts. 1, jawbreaker. Not meant to fit between teeth. Eye lock jaw, pirouette against molar in the gritty grind against anxiety. No words for pigtail girl as she hopscotches into never after. In all of her beginnings of becoming a seasoned Pisces, I am there, oil slick, marbling the fleshed ground that is future. Saccharine, isn't it? How I coat in dextrous, and bowl in pen. I am hard to swallow, even harder to choke up. I'll come from your mouth a wet slap to your palm, abrasive and loud. You'll covet the first chance you get to brush your teeth. 2, spoonful of peanut butter. Simply, if one says they want to be healthier, I'm flexible. A fit to the mold of your cheeks kind of cream. I mollify those screams for women's rights, for sleep, for a week to be more than 168 hours, for gas to come to profusely. I am delectable, a natural beauty to the under trees, but my sympathies are gummed, tenacious, sticky in the throat and downslope of your wanting. I'm beck and call, fairly late for my appointment rush and midnight hum. Work me, and I'll scale the pink, moist space. You'll have to remember the bittersweet of me, my smothering charity. 3, 4 cheese rotini pasta. Coarsely grated, finely parmed, I've crumbled into the sauce pot like a fangirl baby. Portobello mushroom, shiitake savory, I eventually soup for you. I eventually cleave to the film of the peppered beauty of my rim of my God's glasses. She stirs me, fallops me, tells me I ain't got enough milk to keep her. Layering me thin, I corkscrew into being hefty, much more than a cheese-drizzling bite on a summer's day. I'm for the night, I tell her, her air narrowed between pursed lips just for my body. The quick jab and twirl is just a part of the sample game. She will eat me, bit by bit, even after her stomach grows full. Thank you. All right, so this next poem is one of my favorites. I actually wrote it in inspiration after a student that was in one of my workshops who wanted to, write a poem about a disembodied mouth. So this poem is called Never Quiet. The maw jerks itself against the muzzle. The jaw warbles in syncopated notes. The trap leads to rabbit holes unattainable. A greedy kisser, it Frenches each and every word. The yap, the gobsmacker of endless stories, does utter, speak, enunciate, say that the songbirds were maybe the first of us, but we were the narrators before they. Between teeth is archive and time ahead, what warlocks we were born to become. Ingress these narrow-throated galaxies and mold a moon for your mason jars. Here is a polysyllabic excursion. Here is the mouth's concept as undying peace. The tongue's undertaking is terrestrial, living on, in, or growing from the land. Words become biology, and we are all tasked with our mouthpiece to dissect them. The maw, the jaw, the trap, the kisser, the yap, the gobsmacker, the mouth. With evolution, with inheritance, it's no wonder we never truly shut up. All right, so this very last poem is very specific to where I'm from, which is Aurora. So when I was pursuing my bachelor's degree, I had to ride RTD bus like crazy. And so one of my favorites was the 135. And it's the one that goes up Smoky Hill, up and down Smoky Hill, basically, to get to 9 Mile. So this is a poem about finding a pocket lighter on there. So it's called Letter to the Author from Pocket Lighter, discovered on the 135 bus. Here we are, under someone else's thumb, again. We await the customary swipe, no flick, no pink river pulsing against our backs. But that would mean release. The quick shudder your mom told you about. I could teach you, I should teach you, how to roll your tongue when the boys ask, how to sputter, spit, when they pull your wrist too hard. I have those marks on my body too. Call them smoke jewels, smoke screen, and the fever expends. Recall this motion, similar to a gun. Your mom told you that flame throwing is just another gun. And you laughed, you broiled and burst, sent the neighborhood and their freshly washed poodles up in flames. Now look at us, pretty and white, tempting someone to come pick us up off the dirty floor. Thank you. All right, and you need 2 unique things about Aurora when it comes to poetry. I would say the first is that there are a ton of kids that like to write poems about the places that they visit in Aurora. We have a lot of public art that I think people aren't aware of that's commissioned by the libraries there. So that's one thing that I really love about the poetry scene in Aurora. The other thing is the just really strong support of local writers when it comes to the libraries as well. Awesome, thanks guys.
Give another round of applause for Asia. So again, if folks don't know, poet laureates exist all over Colorado. There is the Colorado Poet Laureate, there's Aurora, there's Denver, there's the Pikes Peak region, there's the Western Slope. So the other thing I want to name is that being a poet laureate is a job, right? It's a job, you get paid for it, and so art and poetry is a way that you can make a living. It's a way that you give back to your community and is a really incredible title, so thank you for being here. The next person that we are going to welcome up is just the greatest human and a dear friend, and we sort of grew up together in poetry and workshops and art, and so it is always a pleasure when your worlds collide and you sort of go in different directions and become artists and then get to come back together for these incredible spaces. So everyone, please welcome up Franklin Cruz. Bam, bam, bam.
Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Cool. I love how there's a 2-second pause before anyone said anything. Yeah, I've been hanging around a lot of students again because I'm like subbing for classrooms, and like sometimes audience and students give the same vibe, and it's just like, It's great. I love it. So I'm going to share a couple of poems, and then, yeah, we'll keep going. I saw my mom listening to the wind. She stood in the street with the same look as when she kisses my father, sunlight stretching over her skin. You could tell her prayer started when the wind told her to close her palms. My family loves nature. A refuge, a temple, a playground gave me purpose. I searched less because instinct was blessed on me. Running wildly into my poetry, my pen kicking up the pages, brown blood running the ritual, little things Creator did as proof, like, how are you gonna bless us like that? With the luck to break barriers with our work, with the poems built from the heirlooms of Teotihuacan, gold, jade, and obsidian syllables, full bellies and hands to grip hope, that is the grace of another sun to live and write by. It's a magic message within us, telling us to surrender to nature, one we cannot access with cell phones and Wi-Fi. Let the earth show you how it's done. Buy from a sustainable business. Ride a damn bike. Know how your land and water is used. Remember, it's for the sake of us all, and grow some damn food for yourself. Let the Walmart farms die off. Feed your soul with the good food from free soil and buy chickens from Abuelita down the block. She feeds them with sunflower seeds and oats, leaves the veggies and fruit scraps out for snacks, and they never seen another chicken die. That Abuelita is good like that. Doesn't want the bad blood in the meat if you're gonna buy it from her. Don't you know? Even when forgotten, the old ways is always around, hiding in the backyards of old souls locked in cities and suburbs. Some families never forgot the good old days. They're the ones who till the ground in the back. They look at the trees and see a cousin. The sun is strong and they say thank you. People who stay up to see the same moon from yesterday. They try to count the raindrops before it becomes impossible and have probably watched squirrels too long for anyone's good. But they're the great people who never forgot the mother, the earth that created all good food, the sea that stirs the pot, the wind that carries the message. They just stare up, always looking for the answers to questions asked by someone long dead. We just showed up for the message. We're just listening to the wilderness inside us, always waiting for a call in the wind, and ain't that a trip? Like something that only happens in a magic forest or a magic desert. It's just the magic instinct in us all. Cool. If you can't tell, I support a lot of environmental movements. Please know how your land and water and air is used. Just please. This one goes out to all the queer people in the room. It's been a queer minute since my pen, two-spirited, reminded me that queerness is natural and that anybody can be queer or not, and queer people, we are loved this much too. I have a masculine body, a nerdy gut, a creative heart, an overthinking mind, and a spirit who just wants a hammock. It is an ecosystem I have survived in. None of those have a gender. They are elemental, moving like dance partners. I remember my cosmic body's biosphere. I am a spectrum, better yet a landscape, better yet an ecosystem ready to cumbia. Like I am an air-bending queer, probably a dragonfly on the inside. Attracted to folks who live on the dance floor, have thighs for twerking and hiking. I run adequately enough to survive zombies and good sex. Been taught the reason to love myself is because it is natural, especially if we have survived closets and cages. Been taught the reason to pay respects to the elders, women, black and indigenous, the trans folks, and the non-binary fluid fighters is because it's historical too. The aunties and uncles with quote-unquote long-term roommates and friends. Cousins who knew and asked and those who didn't. Queerness is an ecosystem. It's an amphibious environment. It's solid as ice to defend. It's fluid as liquid to adapt. It's misty and vaporized to elevate. Queer folks are living trophies. Bodies may light awards, because loving ourselves is an accomplishment. Living out loud is a challenge. Making it to be a gay-ass elder is the goal. I'll say this again. Queerness is natural. It is the age of loving myself. I finally have these words at the altar of a loving family. Down for the pride and revolution. They understand the pronouns of liberation and still down to make it brown as fuck. This is a goal for everyone, to live this honestly. Queer folk, it is possible, created or preyed upon. We deserve this too. We are loved this much too. To answer the question, I think one of the cool things about the spaces I occupy, I'm not necessarily Denver, but within Denver I occupy this space, is the overlap with environmental communities. I think a lot of the times it's really easy to give that category of folks to only the folks who stay outside, but we forget that cities are part of environments as well. There's literally a whole thing called urban ecology, which is how cities interplay with the other ecosystems of our lives because we've made them do that. Urban ecosystems now attract more falcons than mountains do, right? Urban ecosystems change the migratory patterns of birds and other creatures because we just have food here and water here built in that they're you know what, it's always gonna be there. San Francisco's always gonna be there type of situation. In that, I think the cool thing that I've seen with poetry is what a lot of folks have a trouble communicating, especially in the climate change conversation because of all the data and the science behind it, is poetry humanizes the whole story for everyone. So if you listen through my poetry, I use a lot of nature metaphors because I feel like nature is one of the most universal things. One of my favorite questions to ask folks is instead of asking where they're from in terms of their culture and in terms of that, I ask where they're from their environment. Are you river people? We're mountain people? Are you beach people? Are you desert people? Because that is actually a better context to understand people from, because it's the same reason someone from Arizona doesn't have a lot in common with someone from Massachusetts, so asking someone their racial or ethnicity or anything like that, it wouldn't give you the true context of their everyday lives, right? So if you ask people, it's oh, cool, did you grow up around mountains? Did you grow up around this? It's a much better way to approach people. Anyway, this will be my last poem. Thank y'all so much for having me. I'm wondering how cities breathe, where its lungs would even begin and end. Did the city and I ever breathe at the same time? That walking in matched footsteps kind of way. Naturally, right? My bustling, busy biome of a city is used to profit over people, putting trains and refineries right next to my mother's garden, and now she comes in with a cough. I'm learning how cities breathe. Like a butchered forest, probably. Acidified and warming oceans. Feels the same in some sense, like how policing and business practices can both choke a living being. Ozones and tracheas polluted. Feels volcanic too when these industries produce more waste than fertility. Does the city breathe better in certain neighborhoods? Been biking and thought I heard an inhale. It changes based on the location, where the trees were clearly invested into. You can tell the difference in the houses, more trees, cleaner air, higher prices for the homes. I'm wondering if my inhales will ever fill out again. I can feel the next generation struggling too. It feels like a last breath. I don't see this in rich neighborhoods, the ones where the houses get passed down. We never think about polluting their air while we make a museum preserving the memory of a dying laughter. Is this all we deserve too? A last memorial? I'm thinking of those breathing in Mexico, Mumbai, Shanghai, and Rio. The same money creates the same air. Now deep pockets have more personhood than farmlands. The sky has been robbed of its name, so you can't make a case for it in court. I am just as much as an ecosystem as my mountains. If the city and I breathe together, are we one? If we all breathe in a city, are we connected? What is a city if power lines and mycelium networks are the same? If volcanoes and humans remind one of the other? If breathing is connected, then aren't we all? Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to introduce our next poet and author, who is also a part of the steering committee, who does incredible work at CSU Pueblo. I have read his books, and they're incredible, and I just am grateful for the way that you exist and create community and support not only the ways in which poetry is academic, but also the way that it is community-oriented. So please give the big round of applause for Juan Morales. Bam, bam, bam!
Hello. Those first two poets, tough act to follow. So thank you for your wonderfulness, and Ashley, thank you for confirming that we in Pueblo also use the. So thanks for that. To answer the question about Pueblo, I'm gonna read you a zombie Pueblo poem. Yeah, this is from this yellow book, and then I'll read some more. Handyman imagines the Battle of Pueblo. When everyone has turned to biting each other, to emptying every grocery store in town, and to sieging out the end times, we don't know why we didn't leave for the mountains in our eye shot. Our feet got dirty enough in vacant lots and beat up streets with road cones coaxing us to leave this rest stop town. The heat challenged our souls to keep it together. Hopeful for afternoon range to nourish gardens hidden in Bessemer backyards. We used to feast on east side taquerias on one-way streets. We used to bike through the avenues to slip downtown through alleys graffiti fresh, finding our way to where the river paralleled limestone barrens and levee murals for local gods that once stretched into sunset. We want the mill to spew yawns all night, coal trains to whistle, crashes of train cars loading again. So we fortify and clear out the dead to make this town home again. Thank you. So happy Earth Day. And I'm trying to find this poem. This poem's for the children. Explaining seafood to my future grandkids after the extinction. I will describe like a murder how we used to rip open juicy bodies and clacking claws of lobsters and crabs to feast on warm meat inside. I will smack my lips describing how we seared tiny ones with red tails called shrimp in butter, garlic, and batter. I will contaminate the moment by describing cocktail and tartar sauce as red or white. I will explain how the ocean's snake-like wonders called eels were bendable monsters made only of arms and fish who swam in nimble clouds up and then down to the depths where deep-sea creatures created light of their own in a time when the sea was not stung full of jellyfish and swirling garbage, and we swam with the taste of salt pressed to our lips. Cool. So I'm going to read two more, but don't worry. This isn't the part of the program where someone says, I'm going to read two more, and they're 17-part poems that chronicle. I'm going to read. This is from my new collection. It's between titles right now, but yeah, exactly. So most of this book is about the passing of my Puerto Rican father. So I'm going to read some poems to honor him. And the first one I'm going to call a weather poem. I think it's very appropriate for today. And Franklin, thank you for opening up the permissions to cuss in a reading portion of the program, because I've been to readings where it doesn't go so well. This poem's called Excerpt from Shit My Puerto Rican Father Said. On a rainy day before leaving for school, my mom said, Juancito, do you need an umbrella? Before I could, my father answered for me, Maria, he don't need no stinking umbrella because he's tough. T-O-F, tough. I remember wondering if he would spell out the whole word or not. That's the poem, so. Sorry. So Pueblo, I've lived in Pueblo since like 2003, 2005, but I grew up in Colorado Springs. I grew up, I went through high school here and everything else, so. Harrison, D2. So I'm just really proud to see all the community work that you all have been doing to make this like the great community it was, but making it even a better community. Because I don't know, I just come up here and I get all sentimental and just so proud of all the progress. So thank you. So this is like a Colorado Springs Pueblo poem, so I'll just call it that. And it's brand new, it's still warm. It's called Teaching Me to Shoot Pool. We placed our quarters on the table and racked, alternating solids and stripes in the triangle, middling the 8-ball. He always let me break, cue ball right of center, 2 deep breaths and crack. A good break meant spreading the balls as a brief solar system on green felt crashed together with planets dropping into black holes. I would shoot with Pop studying me. Chalk cue, point, stick to pocket, figure angles, aim cue ball, and strike. We took turns, and his tricks taught me to play fiercely because he never took it easy on me. Banks off rails, scratches, jump shots, English, and luck kept it interesting. Working the table, he called it, when it was right, when the echo clack sent the ball gently rolling and then sinking. Whenever I tried to muscle instead of finesse, I usually missed. My dad then said, "Oh, Papo, now you won't have another shot," before he'd clean the table. After the 8-ball found called pocket, winner always took their time to sink the loser's balls. When I gave him a run for his money, I clapped blue chalk off my hands and racked again, shaping my revenge with geometry. I listened to memories of pull tourneys in the Army and late nights throwing 2 or 3 games until his cocky opponent would ask, "Double or nothing?" Unspoken between sips from sweaty Coca-Colas, and when we were almost out of quarters, Dad would point to a pocket and I'd catch the ball before it vanished into the pocket. The word shark swam in my mind and seemed to light up the dim pool hall, just like his quick wink. Thank you all so much.
And I think what's also really beautiful is you represent right, college and CSU Pueblo, and that we have lots and lots of colleges and universities, and it's been incredible to be able to go to all of them, and that we think about our young folks, we think about folks in the workforce, but also college is a beautiful incubator for poetry and writing and creativity, so also thank you for being that representative here today. We have 2 more performances before we do that, and I want to bring up this incredible person who I met when PPLD did Pikes Peak Live, where we all taught different workshops. He is representing Manitou Springs, but also does tons of work with the conservatory. Is going to give you some music today because poetry and music are beautiful. And so please welcome up Joe Johnson. Bow, bow, bow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this guitar. My name is Joe Johnson. I'm Manitou Springs Weirdo Laureate. So this song I wrote, I'm not a religious person, but if I chose to be, I would probably be a Buddhist. I enjoy eating, being fat and sitting under trees. It's my favorite. So I was sitting one night in my house and strumming on the guitar, trying to come up with something to say, and the TV was on, the sound was turned down, but it was on PBS, and they were at this temple, Buddhist temple, and it's on top of a mountain, and the captions were on. That's how I know what this was about, but the form of meditation at this temple is you climb to the top of this mountain, and there's this huge bell, and you ring the bell when you get to the top of the mountain. And it said, in the caption, it said, you ring the bell on the mountain to announce your presence to heaven. And I thought, well, there's a song somewhere in there. So I started with that, and then the rest of the song kind of came about. So hopefully you can hear the guitar. We'll see. If you can't, I'm playing it really, really good. Ring the bell on the mountain, announce your presence to heaven. We are all just visitors, no one really lives there at all. Choir of angels were singing, but there was nobody listening, except a beggar and an old blind dog who are walking together. Oh, how the voices ring. Oh, how the children sing down on the lonesome plain, waiting to go home. Felt as if I were falling. Mighty trumpet was sounding. A river rolled out before me. Blood and oil ran together. Then the wells were poisoned. The greed and lies of the chosen. They bent down to worship all the money they made. Oh, how the voices ring. Oh, how the children sing down on the lonesome plain, waiting to go home. A man rode up on a dark horse. His eyes were absent of mercy. Said 3 friends came before him. I told him I had not seen them. Then he let out a terrible howl, shook the trees from the earth. Just as fast as he came, he was gone, and I was left there alone. Oh, how the voices ring. Oh, how the children sing down on the lonesome plain, waiting to go home. Then the sky cracked open. Stars poured into the ocean like so many coins in a wishing well, drowned in hope that they'll ever come true. I was left with a longing to hear the beautiful singing, me and a beggar and an old blind dog. We're the only ones listening. Oh, how the voices ring. Oh, how the children sing down on the lonesome plain, waiting to go home. Oh, how the voices ring. Oh, how the children sing down on the lonesome plain, waiting to go home, waiting to go home, waiting to go home. Thank you. Thank you very much. As I said, my name's Joe Johnson. I've been bumming around this town for like 20 years. No one's kicked me out yet, so that's cool. I write songs, I write poetry, I write short stories. Sometimes I write all 3 of those things at the same time into one thing. To me, you know, as far as Manitou Springs and its relation to art, I came here almost 20 years ago from a South Mississippi town of about 200 people. So I can't even possibly explain the effect that walking into Manitou Springs had on me. Musicians everywhere, dancers, jugglers, crazy people shouting on the corner, all of it, you know, I took it all in and immediately just sort of felt like I was home. My writing has certainly been affected by this environment. I like to write all kinds of songs, and I like to write the stuff that's very poetic, like the last song. I like to write, "Hey baby, baby," whatever. Just kind of let it come out as it comes out. But my favorite thing to do is tell stories. And if you ever see me performing a show, half the show is me talking and yapping the whole time and telling you some story and trying to make some point or whatever. So the other song that I wanted to do for you is kind of new. That's why I have the music stand here. I usually don't let myself look at words while I play. So I'm going to try not to do it. But I saw everyone else using their words, and I thought, well, I guess I don't feel too bad. This song is, I wrote it sort of as either an opener or closer, depending on the night and the environment. But it's kind of a story song. Sometimes these songs just sort of flow. They come out when they're at their best. It's the pen doesn't stop moving. I've got this notebook full of all kinds of things, good and bad ideas, and this one came out to be one of the good ideas, I think. So this song's called One Man Show. Kind of funny. Just a couple of things, hopefully, tease your brain a little bit. But I really want to say before I do this how much I appreciate being asked to do this. Ashley, you're awesome. The poets that have been up here already, it's just been really, it's filled my soul this morning. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I am honored, so thank you. All right, this song's kind of silly. We'll see how it goes. They say if you learn something once, it's never gone. I must be hard-headed as a marble tombstone, 'cause I can't seem to do anything but wrong. Maybe that's what my stone will read when I'm dead and gone. The stats say it'll most likely be from a heart attack, which is supremely ironic when you consider the fact that my heart attacks me on a daily basis, with memories of long-gone people's faces and places that I'll probably never see again. But at least I saw them once, and that's what matters in the end. When you play life like you can't lose, you're only bound to win. Bound to win. At least that's the way that I hope it goes. If I find evidence to confirm, you'll be the first to know. In the meantime, don't go believing everything you hear unless you hear it from me. Because, you see, I wouldn't lie to you, at least not when it counts. I'd never want to spread no rumors around, but the word on the street is that everything is a lie. So close up your ears and lock up your mind. If you're this high, you can ride the ride. With any luck, I'll see you on the other side. You can catch me up on what I forgot I learned. What did I learn? Hey, hey, all you people, welcome to my one-man show. Admission is free. It's $30 to hear it. You bring the beer, I'll bring the spirit. Hey, hey, all you people, let's take it to the end of the line. Last call for fun. We had a good run. Now it's time to say good night. Fear and grief come around in lots of ways. Sometimes it just depends on the shape of the day. In your rearview mirror as you're trucking away. We all sleep at night in our own ways. And people, I sleep just as sound as a baby. Ain't much I can do about tomorrow or today, or how somebody takes what I got to say. Hell, half of that is jokes, and the other half is way too serious to talk about over dinner. Polite conversation till I'm thinner and I'm thinner. I'm grinning my grinner, but it ain't no sense to me when everybody talks and hardly nobody speaks. Maybe I'll get me a suit of rhinestones, and every song I write is gonna be another sad one about the time I did the thing that didn't work out. Oh wait, That's already all I write about. So, hey, hey, all you people, welcome to my one-man show. Admission is free, cost you $30 to hear it. You bring the beer, I'll bring the spirits. Oh, hey, hey, all you people, let's take it to the end of the line. Last call for fun, we had a good run. Now it's time to say good night. Go on home and go to sleep. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ashley.
So the last person that we're going to bring up is Christopher Beasley, who is the co-director of Poetry 719. Is also the co-director of my partnership, is my partner and my love, have been doing this work for a long time together, and also is the person that I love in my life, and I'm so grateful for all the stuff that they have done in the community and with poetry, and so a lot of my successes and a lot of the awards that I win are in partnership because Chris is always there with me, either helping, navigating, supporting, so all the love to our last performer, representing Colorado Springs, Christopher Beasley. Bam, bam, bam.
What a time. Co-director of my partnership. Somebody copyright that right there. Like, who's that? That's my co-director, my partnership. What a time. Thanks for being here, y'all. I know it's cold outside, and you could have been anywhere on a Saturday, but you came here, and it's a full house, and I love that. So give yourself a round of applause for even being here. I actually don't know what I'm reading, so we're going to wing it. This poem's called Community. We are a collective of Colorado artists, writers, activists, dreamers, and soil worshipers. Our air smells like fresh-cut bud, orange sunset skies, snow-capped peaks, and vibrant blooming flowers that'll make you stop and embrace the moment. We care for our own, treat newcomers like family, laugh like kindred spirits, break bread because that's love, hugs become home because that's love, acceptance of you because that's love. As we journey through each mile, we find ourselves and each other. Thank you. I wrote this poem and didn't realize I wrote it and found it, so I'm gonna read it. I consider myself a softcore poet. Take that how you want it. But I wrote this poem, and I want to share it because I forgot I wrote it. So here we are. It's called Softcore Poem. Call me soft. I talk about my feelings, my joy of flowers, butterflies, and being pretty. I be soft like wet tissue, soft like fleece blankets, soft like someone kissed my boo-boo. Cuddle with me, let me be little spoon. Tell me how great my skin feels against yours. Buy me roses, sunflowers, tulips, and watch me cry happy tears. I see more of myself when I wear floral, pastel, or rose patterns. My full bloom, in love with myself, this body, this voice. My voice is soft, masculine is soft, my femininity is soft, soft embrace. I am learning to acknowledge my soft side, to nurture and care for my softness, not fight my sensitivity. Expressing my feelings isn't soft. Or expressing my feelings isn't weak. Crying isn't weak. Emotions aren't something I should bottle up. Feel how soft these hands are from not holding my anger so tightly. This heart has softened from saying I love you more often. I miss you more often. I need help more often. These eyes have softened from seeing myself. Softness as strength, as superpower, as self-care, as growth. This smile, soft, soft, for being myself, for being authentic, for being unapologetically soft. Yeah. And then this last poem, so y'all can get into these great workshops. I did this like leadership fellowship, and I ended up writing this poem for the group, but also for like people, like all of us. We're all out here doing the work, doing community, whether you're organizing or not. Like, you're building community with yourself, with your family, with your friends, and whether you're doing nonprofit work or regular 9-to-5 work, like, work is hard in general. So that's what this poem's about. So, built for the work. We are a foundation, building blocks, doers, and difference makers with a passion to create, out of a need, out of a desire, out of a want to see families grow, friends thrive, neighborhoods prosper, communities flourish, streamlining what needs to be redefined, filling the holes of the neglected, forgotten, the marginalized, deconstructing systems that weren't built for us, convincing us success was never meant for us, choosing not to give up, instead excel, be excellent, exceeding expectations, putting in the work, proving free meal programs, providing free meal programs, rec centers, nonprofits, charities, grassroots organizations, becoming activists, mentors, community leaders, organizing, creating movements. Unity causes change, proving disruption is necessary, proving there is value in people, there is value in connection, there is value in relationships, shaping bonds, constructing bridges to walk together in unison, in cooperation, in community, prosperous. This journey is rough. Long meetings that end with no actual resolution, tuning in and out of Zoom conference calls, the guilt of not responding to every email, anxiety-filled phone calls, hoping nobody answers. The pressure is heavy. Expectations are draining. Deadlines are overwhelming. Grant quotas are often unattainable. The pay is never enough. You feel like you are not doing enough. You don't sleep enough. Days of the week begin to blend together. We question the work, the purpose of if any of this is worth it. You begin to burn, not burn out, but if you do, it's okay. We all know this work is hard. Being selfish and selfless can coexist. Stepping away from this work doesn't make you a failure. Taking a break from this work doesn't make you lazy, uninspired, or difficult to work with. We are human, doing extraordinary things, the impossible, moving mountains, dismantling the status quo, becoming history in the making, rebuilding communities from the ashes. So give yourself grace, time, credit, give to yourself, then you'll have enough to give to others. And when you don't have anything left to give at the moment, not even to yourself, lean on your community, your fellows, your cohort. Lean on each other. Lean on the building of dreams that turned into reality, because we do what needs to be done, making a difference in every step, with every smile, with every thank you, every reward, every congratulations, even when you don't feel seen or get the recognition you deserve. This community acknowledges you. Remember, you are a legacy. You are what it means to believe in yourself, in your imagination, in your grit and hunger, because you are the echo in the stones and etched in this foundation. Thank you.